Hi, and welcome to Broker Tools, where we unpack the tools, systems, and strategies that help brokers optimize the way they work. I'm Katey, your host, and today we are talking about how to build a valuable online asset. We all know how hard it is to scale a broker business through loan products alone. So if you are looking to optimize your website and scale it into a digital asset of its own, then this conversation is for you. I am joined by Matt Radd from the eBusiness Institute. The place you go to learn about all things digital investments. Similar to how people buy property for long-term growth, you can do the same with websites. If you've ever wondered how to turn your online presence into a standalone asset and not just a website to maintain, then I'm sure you will enjoy this conversation. Matt, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much for that awesome intro, Katey. Absolutely love it. It's definitely a pleasure to be here and to be hanging out. And what are we going to get to geek out today on all things online and driving traffic for your clients?
As always, because you and I have like a huge history in this.
We do.
I mean, I think I met you at Yarrow's birthday party. It wasn't even a business function.
No, that's correct. We have photos to prove it, Katey.
Yeah, you and Liz, your beautiful wife, were dressed up as Mario and Luigi. I actually had that memory pop up the other day. It was hilarious to me.
Yeah. But we did all geek out and talk. Even back then, we were talking about traffic and online marketing, and that's what we're here to help your listeners with today as well. So we've done the whole journey.
And I guess even as I do a little bit of reflection of where we were, because I think that kind of crowd that was hanging out that day, we all came from little pockets of different online marketing worlds.
Yep.
I focused on social media marketing because nobody else knew it back then before I went into virtual assistants. And you guys just merged, was it from mergers and acquisition, like real world businesses?
Yep. To buying and selling online businesses. And I guess that's why, like for your listeners, not only am I an ex-broker or a broker, a lot of my personal friends and business associates are all brokers. So particularly in buying and selling businesses and particularly in online businesses. But also, Katey, really interestingly, we have a lot of clients now who are either working with finance brokers or real estate brokers or are finance brokers themselves. So needless to say, I kind of know a fair bit about SEOing or driving traffic to broker websites. And I'm guessing that's where most of your listeners are, that's their background.
Yes. I guess we kind of focus on mortgage, asset, and commercial brokers. But let's be honest.
Yep.
I will expand because that's how I operate.
Yep, that's right. Your broker, well, it's a fantastic niche because I know how much leads are worth in the finance niche and commercial finance space for brokers. They're worth a lot, and there's the ongoing trail. So it is really worthwhile, your listeners, for anyone, but particularly for brokers, to get their online strategy right. And of course, in this day and age, the really exciting stuff that we can do now is bring in AI automations. OMG, that is a game changer for all of us, Katey. Talking about our history, when you think about it, remember what we're all doing back then. Fast forward to today, what we can now do with AI automations and what we can do for our clients, it is just mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Yes. Actually, do you want to go through some of the things that you are noticing in the game? Because I will go down rabbit holes, but I think if you want to touch on a few things, that would be great.
Well, like I said, for your listeners, my background is from buying and selling businesses, also in M&A and being a broker. And then fast forward through to today, as you heard, where we transitioned to buying and selling online businesses, and we teach people how to set up, like Katey said in the intro, very, very valuable online real estate. And it can, in fact, typically it can come from your own business online assets. So like the website that you may be using to generate leads for your brokerage firm. Believe it or not, that can be a hugely valuable asset, not just in terms of the cash flow that it can generate for you or the leads or the traffic, but to a potential acquirer down the track. Remembering that is my specialty, that's my passion in life, and helping people do big 7-figure exits and stuff and 8-figure exits. And it all starts with having a really good online presence But also these days, I think there's a big opportunity now to really amplify everything we do with AI automations. It is a game changer, and it means, and I'm thinking like in the finance niche, if your clients are looking to drive leads and grow their business, I'm hoping they are, all of the above. They should also be thinking, Katey, about building an online asset and having those AI automations in place. I'll share some stories in a minute, really cool. If you can get AI automations into your business, or any business for that matter, you are suddenly sitting on a way more valuable asset. So we're seeing businesses like we teach people how to set up digital agencies and stuff, right? Or advisory companies. And in a way, that's kind of like a broker. We're all just advisors helping people. And because they're getting them automated with generating like so many automations throughout their business, not only are they streamlining the staff, what we teach people, as you know, is to one day do an exit. And hopefully it's going to be 7 or 8 figures, so in the millions. And what we're seeing is the businesses that are well automated, and obviously the less staff, the higher the multiple is for when they come to sell it. So it does, I find a lot of business owners, and maybe, you know, if you're listening to this, you're guilty of this, you're just focused on the grind and getting the cash flow and getting sales and all. You're not really thinking about the asset value that you're building up. What I'd encourage you to do is get automations in there, reduce your staffing. I know it sounds bad, but this is a private podcast. But seriously, from my end, this is what modern buyers are looking for: streamlined businesses, lighter staffing, and more automated. And that then pumps up the value of your business. By the way, you're going to build a heaps better business too that's easier for you to run. And that's the way we're all moving. It's a sad reality for some people, but not for the business owners, if you get this right.
Yeah, and let's be fair. Humans do only buy from humans who are educating 100% well. And if you have an inefficient team and you happen to replace your inefficient, we're all here for efficiency. And so it's not that we're removing humans throughout the whole process. We're just building what do humans need to actually really focus their time on.
Yep, very, very much so. And I guess the other thing that I could mention, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could go here. And I'm just thinking of, you know, who's listening to your podcast here? What do they want most practical help with? I did want to leave with that idea first and foremost, because our background is your website is an actual asset, particularly when you come to exit down the track as well. So don't just always treat it as a lead gen device or a lead capture device, it's a holistic thing. I actually just wrote a lesson on it today for our immediate members. I'm calling it like it is not just virtual real estate, it's like commercial real estate for your business. And it's really important to foster that and build that online. And that's what we're passionate about, teaching people, business owners, at least understand there's a lot of different things that you can do to a website to add value to it. As you know, Katey, you've done our course and you've been around us for a long time. And I think that's relevant to your listeners as well. Even if you're buying a website, you know, to make money out of it as an asset, and as you know, we can renovate websites very easily. When you're a business owner owning that website, it is super important to use those same concepts as well. And of course, AI helps us just accelerate everything now. I think it makes it a lot easier than what it did even a year ago. It's changed.
Yeah, well, even late last week, it's changed.
Yeah. Oh, seriously, what we're doing now, and when you think, for any listeners to this podcast, I'll just give a real simple example of one of the things you can do that adds massive value to your business. If you're a broker, would I be right in saying, Katey, for your broker clients, they need a positioning online? Is that right? Or do they need their voices heard at all or anything like that? How do your, like someone listening to this podcast, what's the best way for them to turn up online? I guess I'm throwing the question back to you just so I can think it through and help them out.
Well, I guess this is the thing. This is the stories we're trying to tell between us. So often, and you'll hear it throughout all of our podcasts that are marketing focused, finding your niche is the most important part.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? And I guess if you wanted to go down how to find a niche, because sometimes people go, what is a niche?
Okay.
to be honest, like most of the people I typically work with have an audience. They already have things in place. But I am also working alongside people who are brand new to brokering in the couple of weeks. And so they have no concept either.
Okay. So really important for both parties, what if you fit into what Katey just said, which you're going to, either you've got no following at all online yet because you're new to brokering, or you already have an audience, you need to, that's what you've got to foster online in this day and age. The game is, and we teach this here, is you need that online SEO footprint, which is search engine optimization. That's what it used to be called in the old days, search engine optimization. So it meant when someone Googles you or your key service, your website turns up in the search engines. So that's kind of 101 stuff from like 10 years ago when we first met, Katey. But now it's all about, as you've probably heard, AI. With AI now, it's about search everywhere optimization. And what the good news about that, at first to a business owner, I think, it can look overwhelming for both those kind of avatars that you just described, then for listener avatars for this podcast. When you're starting out, and even if you've got an existing audience, you might be thinking, there's just so much to do. But here's the thing, you've got to, otherwise you are going to become invisible. In this next 5 years, in this next 3 years even, and as Katey said, even last month, like seriously, within the next 12 months, you're going to have challenges on your hand if you're not out there being proactive online, because it feeds the AI bots, and we want to get served up in the AI search as well. And all the while remembering what my concept is, you're building your business. And believe it or not, the biggest driver these days, Katey, that we're encouraging people to do is still networking, good old-fashioned talking to humans, having conversations, but then we amplify that online. And I think brokers could do that really well if they know what they're doing. And yeah, it takes a little bit more effort, but really that is still something super important in this day and age, because people want realness. We've just got to find a way to bridge the two online. And I think that can work. And the easiest way, to give a great example for all your listeners, in my opinion, is LinkedIn. It's probably one of the best networking tools we have out there. As luck would have it, it is an absolutely brilliant tool for AI SEO as well, search engine optimization. Because so for your brokers, practical thing, you could just be producing little thought pieces on LinkedIn that could also go on your blog, just in like little lessons that you learn through working through your clients that maybe your clients hadn't thought of. And I would just record them and put it into AI and get it to turn it into content. It's probably the easiest process ever. It's way easier than what it was even 6 months ago, once you just know the foundations of it. And so, Katey, think for your clients how much specialized knowledge they would have. It would be absolute. You mentioned you've got, brokers that are commercial finance brokers. Far out. Like that's highly specialized stuff, right? And we've got clients that do specialized residential finance brokering.
Yeah.
When I get talking to them, the stuff they know about these unique residential loans and stuff, it is mind-blowing. I'm saying, far out. Anyone, okay, you're going to have a very narrow niche of people that you talk to, but I tell you what, if you want to get conversions up, you want to teach them that stuff. If they know that you're good at that, I'm coming to you as my broker. And maybe that's what your listeners start thinking about, is identifying what unique knowledge do they have, or just even industry experience that people outside the industry have no idea of, but probably if you're a listener here, you take it for granted. Why don't you just start capturing that? Conversations with your clients, just record them, tell them, and just say it'll all be anonymized, or you don't have to tell them in this day and age, everything's recorded by Zoom anyway. Transcribe it, just take the AI transcription, literally throw it in a Claude, turn it into something useful for a LinkedIn post for my target audience, and there you go. Massive value for your very niche client base, and it just helps with your conversions. That's what we're doing here at eBusiness. It's what all our clients are doing. It works really well. Yeah,
and I think let's take it a little step back and just think about it from a website perspective, because we for anybody who is listening to this is what Matt and I do when we see a website. We'll assess it to look at it. And we'll look at where certain buttons are, where titles are, where pictures are, because those types of things matter because they grab our attention first. If you just say in here, I'm a home loan broker, it's too broad. But then if you say, I'm a first home buyer specialist, That is pretty good, but you can even be more specialized. Matt and I were even just talking about this earlier. One of the people I work with does engineering. Another person I was talking to the other day does nursing. So if you could even narrow like your title down, I'm a specialist for nurses and first home buyers, just in your title alone, that kind of grabs the identity matrix in that person who's looking at you in the head. It kind of goes, I identify as this person, I will stay or I will exit.
And that is brilliant, Katey. That's exactly what you swear you've done our courses at eBusiness. That's exactly what we
Let's be fair. I did a bit before you, but then you just kind of gave me a framework. That's why I loved it, because you do M&A and the whole mergers and acquisitions is how would somebody else come and buy your thing?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so if you're not even thinking about the future of a buyer, if I was too generic, if my websites weren't framed in a way that I could resell this as an asset to somebody else, again, we're talking in three layers here.
We are. Well, that just gave me another really important, you've just made me realize as well, and we teach this now, following on, where I'm talking behind the scenes, amusingly for your listeners, with brokers, right? Like the world's best brokers for selling online businesses. And I've actually recorded some podcast interviews with them as well. But we talk behind the scenes about, because this AI SEO thing is so important now, I'm saying to them, what's the go online that you're seeing with the big buyers when they're buying, say, digital agencies or brokerage companies? Exactly what you said. And it's exactly what you said. If they've got a tight niche, they're really attractive. And like what I said, if they're AI automated, but coming back to this tight niche idea, what's really interesting is, what's really attractive is the branding, because typically if say you do those, for nurses, you brokerage in that nursing space, I love it. Something really tight niche. It's very unique. What you want to do if you're that broker is amplify that message, and it's about authority building or brand building online. Once you dial that in, you own that space, and it's really easy for a potential acquirer to look at you and go, oh yeah, I want that database, because it's so obvious what it is. It's got recurring revenues, and all you do, what I was talking about when you're doing these thought pieces like on LinkedIn, it's really easy to just talk about that very specific niche. You become the leader in it, ideally. Mm-hmm. You're a go-getter and you're starting out from scratch. I'll be thinking like what Katey says, what niche do you want to go into? Or if you're already well-established in the brokerage field, really dial in, like Katey said, your actual niche. And then really your job is, or your team's job, or whoever does the marketing for you, is just to amplify that online. And that feeds the AI search engine optimization. But more importantly, coming all back to my expertise, is it makes it an easier sale down the track when you go to sell it, because it's not generic anymore. It's not just spread out everywhere. And let's face it, Katey, I know the brokerage market online, it is competitive. And the best way to compete is to be the opposite of generic, is go really niche. And then it's relatively easy to build that positioning online. If you can go niche, I love that idea. Yes, I should have mentioned that at the beginning, but you did it for me. For your listeners.
And I guess this is why we have this conversation, because there are moments like we each do different parts of the process, and we think of it at different layers. And if you are very new to looking at making your website a standalone asset, and you've never even encountered it as anything else other than like a landing page where people just book appointments with you, there are just some key foundational concepts that you need to probably understand about making this more of an asset rather than just a way to capture leads.
And my key bit, I do want to reiterate, that now allows me to bring together, because I was just trying to picture who's listening to this podcast. What you're saying, Katey, is spot on. If you are just viewing your website as like a landing page to capture things, what I want to add in there is, like Katey saying, what are the elements that you build up? I'd recommend you focus in this day and age on becoming an authority or a voice of some kind in the niche. And I know that's, maybe embarrassing if you've never been public or anything like that, but let's face it, you're a broker, you're talking to people, hopefully. So you should be amplifying your voice online. And the beautiful thing is these days, your team can do that for you with AI very easily, way easier than what it could have 6 months ago even. And like I said, I would just simply be capturing what's your specialty knowledge, just capturing that in AI and turning it into articles, posting it out there, getting a voice out there online. And then that in turn leads to the conversations happening. People see it, they get networking, presumably you're networking if, already. But like Katey says, don't just view that website as a simple landing page. For goodness sake, be building it out and think about building out your branding. And have Katey, I'll share something here too. Everyone wants to get rich quick, right? But these days we're just telling people, have a 5-year plan for all this sort of stuff. Even though the online space is moving quickly, just have a 5-year vision. I'm just picturing one of your, like a new young guy broker working in the nursing space or full-on engineering or something like that. I'd be sitting there thinking, all right, how can I just dominate this, be the go-to person in the next 5 years? Not in the next month, not in the next 12 months, just in the next 5 years. What can I do? Because that builds a really, really valuable asset, in my opinion.
Yes, and this is where I'm going to switch, because often we talk about articles and we talk about it as content, and most people in this particular side, I think of it as a lead generation marketing form. But with the world of AI, which you and I are both noticing so much now, Matt, is that what you're actually generating is your own knowledge base and your own data center. And the difference between having a website that is maintained versus an asset is that to think about the content within it as not just lead generation, but a possibility to lead into maybe a course that someone pays for, or a paid newsletter so that they get secret news.
Absolutely.
And or a knowledge base. So people who want specialist knowledge can get your own AI bot and talk to your AIU. And this is what we're talking about when we're saying, assets, because these are assets, not just content, not just marketing, not just landing pages.
And it's building that intangible asset, I guess you call, which is the branding and the authority. Because there's, Katey, as you know, and I know this is a little bit more advanced for your listeners, but with the way the Google, say, search engine works, and AI search engine works exactly the same, it is looking at where you appear online, and it's trying to judge, are you an expert in something? Do you have experience in something? Do you have authoritativeness and trustworthiness? And that's a Google acronym called EAT, which a lot of us SEOs live and breathe by. But needless to say, like what Katey's saying, if you do all these things, it just naturally builds that. So I love it because you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. Everything you do is all integrated. And what's most important is that you're not a wet blanket anymore and you just have a simple static website. That's not going to cut it for you in this day. Sorry to scare you, but seriously, it's not going to cut it if you're a go-getter and you want to really build something and have that 5-year vision. That's what I think you need to be more proactive now.
And the more you talk, that I'm just going like flashback into the different parts of your courses in my head. So we're not going to go deep diving into all areas of it, but these are things. So assets can be even putting like Google ads inside, and because you get impressions and you get paid for the Google impressions, and ultimately your loan book can only get you so far. Leads to settlement, because our particular audience is obviously mortgage brokers, assets. So you're trying to settle loans, and that's great. But if you want to amplify your cash flow in other areas, it's having like referral links and other things in there.
Big time. Yeah, that's huge. And that's why you've got to amplify your voice or your brand out there online these days. And the good news is, if you niche down, like you said, it is a hell of a lot easier. It is really cool. You can beat the big guys. We have clients we have some very successful, they're very private stories, actually. I just need to be careful because of confidentiality, but we've got some of our clients that build significant lead gen websites for brokers and have done really well for them, just individual brokers and stuff. And yeah, they've niched into some very specific mortgage broking areas, like in the commercial space and stuff like that. But they've built full brands for them over the time. Like they've literally helped these people go from zero to, hero. But it's been a 5-year journey, I'd say, most of them that I'm thinking of, because it is competitive in that space. So
yeah, and I guess with AI, it's becoming, not that it can't be, like, as in, let's not ignore competition, but this is where, what we always say is the riches are in the niches.
Yep, you can.
And I even think, there is tiny niches that do so well. For example, agriculture there's silos within it just for like corn. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really cool. What I would do, no matter what business you're in, even for the people that you're working with, but just stick to your own business for people listening, you seriously just throw it into any AI platform that you like using. How can I find my specialty or my unique selling, we call it in marketing term, USP, unique selling proposition? Gemini or Claude or ChatGPT will be amazingly helpful for you at this. Just say, type in your own current website and say, please analyze this. Tell me, how can I find the unique angle that's going to make me stand out in my marketplace? Just words to that effect. It's as if you're having a conversation with it, and just see what it throws up, and then hand it to your digital marketing team and say, all right, I want you to implement that. That's the angle we're going to go for. And you can go even more down the rabbit hole, Katey, obviously. And it's very simple now. You don't have to be a full-on prompt engineer anymore to get amazing insights. You know what I'm doing? And for your listeners, I think this is really good news. I'm actually going even more broad and simple on my prompts or my requests to AI. It's just becoming literally a conversation like that. And I can do it on any business and literally within minutes have full-on research on any business and have the unique angle dialed in, plus all the selling phrases that I literally just copy and paste onto the website within minutes, where it used to take me like a whole weekend to figure that sort of stuff out.
It is a great sounding board for sure.
It's awesome. It is mind-blowing. I don't want to do any digital agencies out of a job there, the front end bit, but you still need a digital agency or people to implement this stuff. But you can brainstorm with your favorite AI, the stuff that Katey and I are talking about.
Yeah. And I guess if we're coming back to, the main core topic here is how to, turn your website into a digital asset.
Yep.
What you and I often talk about is your website is your front door. It's your office. It's the, it's the old school place, where you used to go shopping. If people don't like your storefront, they're never going to come in.
No.
And so first you need to make your storefront look a certain way, feel a certain way, have some sort of appeal, but then be enough of an education system.
Yes, important.
That begins their choose their own adventure.
Yeah. And that leads to, by educating your clients, that leads to conversions. We've found that in every single online business we've ever owned, or any service business that we're representing online with the website. You're spot on. It's got to have, like Katey's saying, I really love that idea. Think of your website as your new, Katey, we've got a new term Liz came up with the idea. It's a new digital main street. Like it's the digital business main, like in the old days on the main street. Not only do, like you said, you want to turn up, you got to have a look and a feel, but it is really, really handy these days to be educating people, because that kills two birds with one stone. The AI sees that as well, puts you up as a bit of a thought leader. You can either personally brand it or brand it to your business name, and that captures people, and that's building your asset long term though.
Completely. And to continuation. I'm inventing words.
I know what you mean by that. Don't worry. And you listeners know what you mean by that. Yeah, we all know what you mean, Katey. Yeah.
But because we all love a good choose your own adventure, but everybody who comes to your website, they're on like different pathways. So if you're not having like messaging sure, I might be a nurse, but I might be a brand new nurse versus a middle-aged nurse versus an age-old nurse. Yeah. And so my particular experiences, I might not be ready for you yet, but I might be ready for you in the future. If I haven't even if you haven't like gathered my email, for example,
Yeah.
and begun that process to warm me up to know, like, and trust you, it's
Yep.
going to be hard to do what we call ongoing sales, ongoing revenue. And when you think about digital assets, that is what we're trying to do here. Make it more than just a loan book, but a whole asset in itself.
Yes, we want to capture, really important. So one of the key things, as you know, Katey, and I'll share this with your listeners, especially in this day and age now, is having a following of some kind. So ideally an email list adds massive value to any online business, doesn't matter who you are. For the reasons that Katey just said, is it's not just, from my point of view, it's not just about having that email list so we can sell to them later on or whatever. It's a sign of a healthy business, but it's almost a required asset these days in a bigger asset sale, like an online business. But also that following could be like a social media following as well, like a LinkedIn following or a YouTube following or a Insta following. Not that I don't think brokers are, I don't know, I don't really touch the Insta thing as much. But any social media following is the next best thing to an email list as well. And you know what an email list allows you to do? You and I take this for granted, but maybe your listeners don't. The email list in this day and age allows us to automate everything, particularly for brokers. You think about it, if you've captured, and exactly what Katey said, someone that's kind of interested in your services, but maybe in 6 months' time, that's now all automated so easily. Like it is just, that should be captured. That person should be nurtured over the next 6 months, which can all be automated with an email sequence or through even just directing them to your LinkedIn post when you post it or something like that, however you decide what your main strategy is. And those people can be nurtured, and that's what buyers are looking for as well. What are those open rates on that email list? How good is that? Is it a commercial email list? And that we have found can add massive value to any online business. And so for finance brokers, where your businesses could potentially be worth a lot of money just because of the leads alone, having a regular, recurring, engaged audience that you could prove to a potential buyer, it's like, oh, that could add a lot of extra value to the sale down the track or to the asset. And maybe it's through offering education, like you said as well. I never thought of that. You're right. In these very niche brokerage firms, you could be offering some really interesting education stuff for your engaged audience.
Yes, I was going to ask, are you happy to break down what are assets in the buy and mergers and acquisition, buy and sell industry? Because we're talking about things, but most people think about those particular things as marketing. They don't actually see them as assets.
Oh, wow. Okay, I see them as assets. So, I
think it would be great to define, like, as in, if someone was to go through a sale, there are key things that you are looking out for that qualify as a great asset. Are you happy to go through a couple?
Yeah, well, I got some exciting ones for your broker listeners. Far out. You guys are laughing. The number one thing so top line is sales and traffic. So if let's talk online businesses / combined with a business like a brokerage, right? So sales and profit at the end of the day, and traffic. So most businesses, as brokers should probably know, or maybe not if you're a finance broker, sell on a multiplier of the profit. So bottom line, we need to see a profit, and it's just sold on a multiplier of that. That's easy. That's 101 stuff. But what you're asking, Katey, too, I think should be exciting for your listeners, because let's look at some of the assets, or in inverted commas, virtual assets that most business owners don't think about, that I just take for granted. But we've already touched on the big one, automation in a business. If the business is automated, and especially if there's, in this day and age, less staff and things, and it's really easy to run, that could bump up your multiplier dramatically. But the biggest one that I see that we encourage all our audience to build into any online business, and brokers, you broker listening to this naturally have this, is recurring revenues. Oh my God, that is just so attractive to big buyers. Any business on the planet with recurring revenues, all of a sudden, people are interested in them. And brokers obviously have that. I think for brokers, you guys call it the ongoing trail or whatever. I just call it recurring revenue. So the ongoing trail, as probably a lot of you brokers realize, you would have heard through the grapevine of other brokers selling. It's normally applied on that recurring trail. So what my point there is, I know it's stating the bleeding obvious possibly, yep. But I want to point out from my end in mergers and acquisitions, that's literally what big private equity firms and venture capitalists and high net worths are looking for when they're acquiring businesses, anything with recurring revenue. So you naturally ahead of the game right there if you can do that. But there is some other very powerful online assets that people don't think of. And one of them, interestingly enough, is the age of the website. So the longer it's been around, it tends to be more trusted and more worth something. And that's the case for any business. So don't worry, you can make 7 figures in 12 months, 18 months if you know what you're doing, like especially as a broker, if you really go for the growth, you can do things quickly. But I'm just saying all things being equal, I guess a virtual asset would be the age of the business and then also the name of the website or the business name. So if it's Bob's Brokering, kind of okay, but it's based around Bob. So if you want to exit down the track, ideally, and we have a lot of these discussions with clients, it would want to be some pretty cool branding name and to closely align to the age of the business online. We're looking at what's the domain name and what's the value there. Like, is there traffic coming to it? What other assets are sitting in that domain name? So is it the traffic? Is it the list? Is it the age? Is it the domain name? What else do I look at? Is the list that's got, which we've already talked about, the automations, and the actual content that sits on the website has a value as long as it's driving traffic. So there's a lot of value in that, and the way the website's set up, if it's got something unique or it's got a unique positioning online, and or how it captures the visitors or the traffic. If it converts really well, then that could be a highly valuable website as well. It all kind of comes together so that 1 + 1 probably equals 5 or 6 in the sale. You need kind of all those elements together.
Yeah, and I guess what the key part is overall is engagement of, your list. So when you say, obviously, recurring revenue is obviously a massive asset.
Huge, yep.
It just means that you can transfer that ongoing recurring to the
buyer.
Next person.
Yep.
Next buyer. But the second part is, and I guess this is where we were talking for brokers, is your loan book can only travel you so far. But if you turn your website into a digital asset that also has educational courses, that's a different kind of reoccurring asset. If it's a paid newsletter, because depending on how well you do that, you can also do that.
They can be huge these days. Newsletters can be massive, particularly in certain niches. So if it's niched within the finance brokerage space and you are the go-to source for that knowledge, and you can write newsletters completely with AI. I would base it on human experience though. Like, it's got to be useful, which presumably you have. If you're a broker, you've probably got some really good insights. That's what I was saying earlier in the piece. Try and capture your conversations with clients, because especially if you've got FAQ type stuff that you're doing, like frequently asked question type stuff that you're dealing with a lot of people, that can typically turn into really good newsletter material. But you're right, if you can find your loan book's one thing to make money, and it's beautiful because it's recurring revenue. But I want to encourage your listeners to think about, in this day and age, because it is easier to amplify your voice, is what you've touched on is providing educational, useful content on your website so you become a bit of a thought leader. It's not just about selling courses and things. That's also part of becoming a thought leader. And I don't think people realize just how much that can be worth in this day and age. Do we call it personal branding, Katey? It's not strictly personal branding. It's sort of like you said, it's providing knowledge that really helps the visitors to the website.
Look, I think you and I lived in this side of the marketing world way too much. And there's like 3 kind of thoughts. You're either building a personal brand, but if we're trying to make it a long-term asset that you can sell, there's only so much attachment of your personal brand you should have to it.
That's right.
There's the second part, which is what they call being a key person of influence.
Yep. Yeah.
And then there's the thought leadership pathway.
Thought leadership. Yeah. Well, I kind of roll all 3 of those actually. I like to put them into one. And what I say to people is that's why there's value in the domain name and the actual branding of the business. And so you think of like there's well-known, say, accountants, And so they've got their accountancy name, but they become thought leaders or key people of influence online in very narrow niches, and they just get really well known. So they just dominate. Now that's an asset, even though it's built, the thought leader bit's built around their personal name. They're representing their accountancy firm. So I've seen it done really well in white collar spaces. Certain lawyers have done exactly the same online as well. Our clients have helped them do that sort of a thing. That in and of itself is a hugely valuable asset right there. And it kind of combining this idea of, key person of influence or thought leadership, but you're actually driving your bricks and mortar business or your loan book or your brokerage or your accountancy firm or whatever. But it's by you putting in the effort and amplifying your voice, and just find that useful knowledge that you can help someone with. I guarantee if you're a specialist broker, you'll have stuff that you talk to with your clients. You're probably educating them every single day. You think it's sales, right? Selling them a loan book, but that's stuff where you're actually kind of giving them a helping hand about how to decide which loan to go for or whatever. That's gold. To your people that don't know what you know, that's the thought leader bit. Capture that with AI, turn it into useful content, and you're going to build up a massive following over time.
Yeah, and I guess this is the thing. You're saying like the most foundational piece is your content and really amplifying that. But the gift of being a thought leader and the gift of amplifying your content is that you attract a certain audience. And that audience is the part that engages with you. And if you are a solo broker, you're starting out almost like what we call freelancers back in the day. You're kind of bringing out, an individual thoughtship, making sure that your whole business is not necessarily your personal brand, but a brand that you can amplify. But then the next level is for you to build an agency. Obviously, you have a broker agency, or a brokerage is what we would probably call it, rather than a broker agency. But that's where it goes from you to having 3 or 4 people, maybe some credit staff as well.
Yeah.
And then from that, you might even build out maybe a digital product that can on-go and grow out that. And if you're ninja, which we always love, is maybe building out software.
Yeah.
But you'll find opportunities in the market, or you will invest in other people's businesses. And this is why, because once you get to different levels, this particular website becomes one of your massive assets that can help you go into other assets too.
I think, Katey, I want to point out, because hopefully at that point it's got a following. And you can take that following wherever you go, and so can a potential acquirer. And that's value. So I was just thinking, when you're talking about this certain real estate, like young guys who's starting out by themselves, and we tell them, why wouldn't you build up a profile for yourself? So if you change who you work for as a real estate agent, you can take your audience with you, and that's worth money. And brokers can do exactly the same thing as well. And hopefully that's a great way for you as a listener to realize, oh yeah, wow, Matt and Katey are right. There's a huge value in the following that I might get, whether it's through the email list or social media following. That's worth money to you down the track, and it's worth money in a big sale as well.
Yeah, and the more you do it, which is where we're going with AI, it's that you're building out your thought leadership. You become the go-to.
Yeah, that's right. It's exactly what you do. So there you go. There's your strategy in a nutshell. It's so easy, Katey, for your listeners to implement this. It's easy. But talk to Katey about it, because you help your guys with AI automations as well, don't you? So you can help them with all sorts of exciting things in this day and age.
Yeah, I don't necessarily focus on the website stuff anymore. If they want to do and understand how to really build it out as an asset, they should go to you.
Okay.
Or any of the other people who are in the directory. We have them all under marketing. So anybody who does digital marketing, social media, go check them out. Matt obviously is a mergers and acquisition specialist and a digital asset educator.
I teach people. So for your listeners, I don't implement the stuff these days. I empower people to do it themselves. So if you're interested in learning how to do this sort of stuff yourself, like even just the basics of like building a good website or whatever and capturing those people, that's what we teach. Which
is much better. But if you're looking for optimization from CRM onwards, so once they've hit your landing page,
go to Katey.
I'm your girl, because I will get them through your calendar. I will get them into your CRM. I will get them to your document collection, fact finds. I will automate all that. I'll add in a little AI chatbot.
And Katey,
that's my jam.
For your listeners, I'll personally vouch for Katey's abilities there. We, as you heard at the beginning of this interview, I've personally, and my wife Liz and I have personally known Katey, and she moves in exactly the same circles as us for more than a decade now, 15 years.
I feel old.
All right, you have some serious experience. And in all seriousness, Katey, I think your listeners do need someone like you to implement this AI stuff. It's incredibly exciting to people like myself and you, but we're geeks on this. We know how to do it. You and I know there's a few tricks to actually implementing it, but the top line strategy your listeners should understand, hopefully now after listening to me and you for the last hour on this, should know what you want to achieve. But I think you need someone like Katey to help you implement it on that automations bit. So make sure you go and have a chat to Katey about it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that, Matt. Again, if you've ever wanted to learn how to master your own website building and or looking at building other skills in having digital assets, then of course, go to Matt at the eBusiness Studio. Oh, no, Institute, not Studio.
eBusiness Institute. Yep, just Google.
And I mean, it's you and I talking now, but one of the things I love about what you do is you really educate how couples do things together.
Yes.
Liz, your beautiful wife, have built a lot of things together, and you've got a lot of people who do couple things together within that.
We do. Yeah, we've built up a huge community of people that are transitioning out of corporate, or I call it the golden handcuffs. They're burnt out since COVID. It's just mind blowing how many people are burnt out, and a lot of them do it as couples. It works really well because Liz and I have been in business together. We're not only life partners, we are business partners for the last 30 years now. So we've been buying and selling businesses together for over 30 years. So we tend to naturally attract other couples. We're all inclusive, but yeah, we attract a lot of different couples. Like to see how can they create that for themselves, because I believe any business is a must in this day and age. It's a huge thing. I don't care whether it's small, big, side hustle, brokerage, being a plumber, whatever. I think it's one of the smartest things you can do is have a business of some kind. Do it with a partner. Perfect.
And if you can live together, work together.
Oh, it's awesome. Living the dream, Katey. I do acknowledge not everyone can do it, but we seem to have a lot of success in our community. It's really cool. People realize, I can actually be in business with my partner here. And so I think that's pretty cool too. So maybe people can check out some of our success stories. I'll see what I mean.
Perfect. If you guys have any other questions for Matt or myself, feel free to put them in the comments below. Do all the good things and like, comment, and share. And we will come back to you with any answers that you need. Again, thank you so much for joining me on this pod, Matt. It's so good to catch up with you.
My pleasure, Katey. Loved being here. That was awesome.
Thank you. Bye.